validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa, I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. We got a lot of things that just happened right before the show. So I'm going to touch on a couple of updates real quick before we get on today's topic. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Special shout out to Red Void and Omni81. I see you guys popping in real quick from Twitch and Twitter. I see a few of you guys, Master Poser, Liberty Twitcher, Mr. Pibbs. So if you guys want to jump in and you want to give your shout outs, make sure that you hit that link in the comment section that just popped up. Approve the mic, approve the camera to bring you on in real time, and then we can go ahead and have an open mic, open forum discussion. Today we're going to be talking about do women really want to be wife material, and then we're also going to be talking about what it takes to be wife material. But before we go into that, we're going to be talking about a couple of things briefly. First of all, those wildfires are contained on the south side of California, so they're still burning. So I did want to tell you I told you so, because I did say almost a month ago that it was not going to go out quickly. However, in spite of the fire still ongoing, there is a pretty huge rain ahead, storm, if you will, that is approaching California. And that is going to lead to evacuation warnings and flood potential after the fire. So those who are still trying to pick up the pieces after the devastation of the one of the biggest fires that's happened in California in over 100 years, now you have more natural disasters coming your way, where there's extreme quantities of flooding that is tiptoeing into the south side of California. So I'm going to keep you guys up to date as to how that stuff is playing out. There have been at least 28 deaths confirmed so far from that forest fire. I'll get more updates as to how many more beyond that have occurred as of recent. In addition to that, if you did not know, for those of you who already had TikTok app installed into your cell phones right before the show, about an hour before the show, Google Store released the TikTok app again. So Google and Apple stores now have TikTok still newly re-accessible on the platforms as of today. So those people who are trying to sell their cell phones for 10 stacks, that trend has passed, because if you don't have TikTok on your cell phone, you now download it from the Google Store or the Apple Store. If you are like me and you had TikTok on your phone already, I confirmed it. You have updates. So if you were to take the time sometime today, maybe after the show, for those of you who have some bandwidth and internet to do both, you can watch the show today while updating your TikTok. It takes a few minutes because there's a lot of updates that we missed over the past 60 days. But we are in a position where, yes, you can go back to utilizing TikTok from the browser. So you can, if you just bought a phone, planning on buying a phone, upgrading your phone, you have no fear of trading in your old phone and still having accessibility to the TikTok software. Now, TikTok has not yet been bought. Donald Trump has tapped Vance on the shoulder about getting TikTok bought, and Trump did sign some executive orders last week and a week before that I talked to you guys about, making a sovereign wealth fund that will give the United States the ability to invest in TikTok, as well as some other billionaires that are interested in investing in TikTok, where TikTok has several $1 trillion worth of profit margin. There is a lot of value in that for shareholders. Whether or not TikTok pays dividends in the U.S. market depends upon how the setup is. However, as it stands, if you'd like to be one of the first front runners to dive into the investment of TikTok, as soon as I find out about it, I'll let you guys know about it. And if I can find the locations where investment opportunities are set up, I'd be able to inform you of those as well. So I appreciate you guys coming to the show on a regular basis. Make sure that you guys put time into liking and subscribing, hitting the notification buttons. It looks like we're starting to build the habit of settling in at about 10:30. One of the reasons being is because we get a lot more lively 30 minutes from now. So we start seeing a larger quantity of fans on the show that have more availability on the show, more so because we have a lot more fans that are coming to us from other countries. So I did take the time, I did take the time to put Nepal on the map. So special shout out to Nepal alongside Brazil and Romania. So I did get you guys. And we actually have an ironed out time slot where it looks like you guys, it's like 4 a.m. for Green Minutes time or Universal time. It's around 4 a.m. for you guys, or well, right now it's like 4:30 a.m. for you guys. So paying attention to how our show goes live and affects you guys all over the world. So I wanted to make sure that we try to stick to somewhat of a consistent launching of air time. So as we move on today we're going to be hitting on that hard-hitting topic about whether or not women want to be wife material, and what does it really mean to be wife material. And then we're going to be going ahead and taking a little bit of time to talk about why men expect or prefer or would hope even that women just have the understanding that they should behave as wives from the first date, the same way that men behave as husbands on the first date. So joining me as we dive into these questions involving, do women really want to be seen as wife material? And I'm going to find out through going through this question exactly what we are expecting versus what women are willing to provide. Now, this is from a man's perspective, and ladies, you girls have the opportunity to jump in at all times. I encourage you guys to click the link, approve the mic, approve the camera, get in here and say what you have to say, appropriately, might I add. But you must be over the age of 18 to 32 cents in. But this is a very it's probably going to end up being a controversial topic. It really depends on how many of the ladies find offense to the things that I have to say today. However, the term wife material has become a buzzword on modern dating culture, but we haven't really established what it really means. And it is even something that women have strive for in the past, but in modern times, it's not necessarily something that women have longed for. Not all of them, at least. There are some that strive for being married, but not striving to be wives. Now, before we move forward, we like to talk about what's the difference between the two. Being married gives you a financial commitment to your partner. Okay. Now, I understand that from a religious connotation, there's supposed to be a union between two parties under the eyes of the Lord, where it's a combining of soul and spirit and all this stuff from a religious perspective. But outside of religion, it's a financial agreement between two businesses. Because in America, we are two businesses, as our social security number is a stock option, and our name is the business name, utilized with caps and stuff. And that's the reason why we have driver's licenses, because it is a permit to drive for commercially. And as we are a business entity, when we travel, we are a commercial entity traveling, which is why we need the commercial driver's license. Put it all together, it all starts making sense. Instead of fighting the system, utilize the system in your benefit. Now, the thing is, with two parties coming together, two businesses coming together, is a merger. You guys are merging your resources, you're merging your financial obligations, your debt, as well as your profits. This leads to the combining of households. And then with the combining of households comes the combining of obligations. And with the combining of obligations, there is a distribution of what is expected to be fair obligation and accommodation between working marriages versus the sociological expectation of roles that are supposed to be fulfilled by certain genders versus the modern times of egalitarianism that isn't really all that egalitarian, because the expectation is for one side to have all the responsibility, the other side to have no responsibility, but we're supposed to share the responsibility. When it comes down to sharing authority, we share authority, but we're not really sharing responsibility. See, that I call shenanigans on the understanding of the egalitarian model, because if it's supposed to be 50-50, 100% of the way, it's supposed to be more of a democracy where everybody has their input. But if the expectation is that one person is going to be a primary shareholder or primary contributor to the holistic aspects of the relationship, then by far it is not an egalitarian scenario. And since we have the hypergamy scenario, that it comes into play, where women are dating men that are more successful than them, not because the women make less money than men, but because women prefer men who make more money than the women, which means that you're going to find a man in a relationship more often than not that is more financially successful, which means he have more resources contributed into the success of the relationship. And the expectations of the men is to provide financially, and the expectations of the women is to provide non-financial contributions. So that removes her responsibility to be contributing in the relationship, which also means that it's either a 70-30 or 80-20, or, whatever he can afford, she might bring up the rear kind of thing. But the majority of contributions in financial decisions in the household comes from the man in relationships where the woman is dating a man that is more financially successful than her. This does not apply to the women that are in relationships that are more successful than the men, because those women that are contributing more than the man would retain, from an egalitarian perspective or a uniform perspective, would retain more authority over decision-making processes, over finances, because it's primarily her resources going into the decision-making process. But the fact is that from the more seen and observed perspective, if he's making more, why does he not have any authority over? He's making more and contributing more. Why does he not have authority over his own resources just because he's in this relationship? Now, I took 10 blocks to get across the street when we talk about the difference between, because I just explained marriage. I didn't explain being a wife. That was all just marriage, because she has the financial commitment. She has the guarantee that if this situation doesn't work, if the relationship flops and you guys got to get a divorce, she takes half of the assets, even if she didn't contribute to half of the assets. And then she can go on about her life and live her best life, going through the motions of attempting to get married a second time. Being a wife, we're going to be going into detail about that later on in the show tonight. But being a wife is more along the lines of being a partner and aiding your partner in being successful while chasing your own dreams, and having your partner support your dreams is what women expect. But the women are not, a lot of the times, aiding the men in their dreams and aspirations, where you are supposed to be his partner, not just utilizing him as a subsidy to achieve your own greatness. You are supposed to be his partner for his greatness, because his greatness trickles down onto you anyway. By default, the more successful, the thing is that the character of a man is emphasized by his wealth. It is not defined by his wealth. Therefore, if a man is generous, the more wealthy you make him, the more generous he's going to be able to be, the more gifts he's going to be able to buy for you, the more trips he's going to be able to take with you, the more stuff he's going to be able to do with you. If you get a selfish man, the selfishness is going to be exacerbated by his wealth. So women looking for a generous man are blindsided by the fact that they're just looking for a man that's willing to spend money on them. If you're looking for good character, he could be broke and only have $5 and give you $4 so that you have what you need. But if you're the kind of woman that knows that he needs $5 and he's only got $6 and he's going to give you $5 because you need $5, you should be the kind of woman that brings in another $10 so that the both of you got what you need. I know women are going to say, nah, that's not the case, blah, blah, blah. But let's be real. A good relationship is a reciprocal relationship. A healthy relationship is one that you get out of it some of what you put into it. It's not going to come in the same fashion that you contributed. So while a woman might put in more effort, she might get more money out of the relationship. A man might put in more money, but he will get more effort out of the relationship. But the things that he needs done gets done, and the things that she wants bought gets bought. Her expectations are met by him. His expectations are met by her. That is where being a good wife comes from an overview perspective. But we're going to get into that today, because we're going to be looking at how today's society has expectations surrounding relationships and marriage that can be overwhelming, and the pressure to fit into a certain mold can be crushing. So when women are bombarded with messages about how they should look, act, or behave in relationships, it's no wonder that many of them struggle to meet these unrealistic standards. And the reason why we discuss about the unrealistic standards is because you have the ideology that women feed other women about how they should be able to look and dress and carry themselves inside of a relationship versus outside of a relationship, where the freedom to look cute, quote unquote cute, or sexy, where you're attracting sexual attention even when you are not available for that extra attraction that you're drawing in, that it does build a higher level of unrealistic expectations, because now women have to, that they're putting on shoes that don't fit. They're changing the way they look to meet what they believe is what is socially expected to be attractive. They're not being themselves, truthfully. And then they got it all wrong when they think that this is what men desire. I mean, obviously, if a woman parades herself around as a tool for sexual desire, that she will attract sexual attention. Men do not need to have standards of value or quality in a woman for to have sexual attraction to her. I mean, a man can have a sex with one or three. A woman doesn't have to be valuable at all for that particular understanding. But when we start talking about valuing the woman as a person, as a human being that has a skill set, a mindset, yeah, that type of look isn't going to attract the right quality of man. And that's one of the issues that is becoming unrealistic, because you believe that dressing a certain way, which drives a larger quantity of sexual desire, will attract you a good man. And that's not true. It will attract you a man, but that man could be a dirtbag. It's not necessarily going to attract you a good man. Carl's in the house. You called me at the top of the hour. I just started into the topic, man. I was before I go deep into this, because we're gonna hit some heavy hitters tonight, and I'm hoping that those women from Joseph's in the house as well. Special shout out to Joseph as well. So Carl Broughton and Joseph Hernandez in the house. They've been coming through all weekend since last Sunday. Matter of fact, we've been mowing over all this. As I told you guys, we got a different topic every day of the week. We yesterday we talked about Ecuador. The day before that, we talked about the investing in cybersecurity. The day before that, we talked about the U.S. Treasury. The day before that, we talked about Donald Trump. Today, we covered TikTok is now available on your Google and Apple store. So if you still have it on your phone, go get the update, because I just had to update mine right before the show. And also, if you don't have TikTok and you want to use TikTok, you can now download it, so you don't have to go buy one of those $10,000 phones offline. That's not an issue anymore. And then I also covered right before you guys got here how California's still on fire, but they've kind of contained the fire. So it's still on the south side of California. It's burning to the ground. But before, more so, the fire is not so much of a concern as it is the flood that's about to happen. So now they're about to do evacuations and everything to that effect. Oh, you never had it, so you don't think. I mean, it's 60-second shorts. Sometimes it's longer than that, but more often than not, it's a 60-second short where you watch somebody make an ass out of themselves, and then you flip to the next video. Usually you lose the attention of the person within the first 15 to 20 seconds. And if any event that, oh yeah, California's still burning. And they're after they get flooded out, they're supposed to be doing evacuation stuff and preparing for the upcoming flood. But yeah, so California's burning and TikTok is back, but it hasn't been bought by the U.S. yet. They're still talking about that. We had a total of 75 days from January 20th to work that out, and 75 days from January 20th puts the resolution date in March. So we still have a few weeks. Well, no, 75 days. That'll be 60 days. So it'll put us in April. Well, no, from January, February, March. Yeah, it'll be about April, probably April 1st. Between April 1st, April 10th is when the resolution of that executive order occurs. Now, Trump still has the ability to extend that scenario, but we'll see what happens. He said, watch Elon purchase using government funds. Oh, I talked about this 2 weeks ago. They created a sovereign wealth fund where the United States government can buy TikTok. Now, Elon Musk is a private representative of the United States government. So, of course, he's a billionaire. Now, Elon's not going to be able to buy TikTok. He doesn't have enough, since TikTok is valued at trillions of dollars. he's a little short. But with his 6-7 billion and Trump's 4-5 billion, and they put their money together as massive shareholders of TikTok, and then the U.S. government's $30 trillion GDP, you know, they can put enough money down using U.S. funds, and then marginalize the shares where they can still get back shit tons of revenue as smaller investors in the U.S.'s ownership. So U.S. could own the shares, and then people can invest in the U.S. shares, and it goes into the U.S. stock market, and then it'll end up, they'll both be making billions off of it, and the U.S. will be making millions off of it. So yeah, we had that. And Joseph says he did talk about bringing back Vines a couple years ago. Well, yeah, but Vines aren't as long as Vines are not as long as the TikTok shorts videos. And TikTok, Vine was popular like late 90s, early 2000s kind of thing. The 30-second Vine videos, but TikTok is the rage for the next generation. So we're looking at like 15 to 25-year-olds. So over the next 20 years, those 15 to 25-year-olds will become 35 to 60. They will be the next generation of leaders of the country, and all of them are using TikTok on their jobs. They're using TikTok in their schools. Instead of them calling the police during an emergency, they're streaming emergency situations using their TikTok accounts. They're making shorts reels out of it, 1-minute shorts reels. Some of the people that are trying to get a little bit more traffic on their platforms are doing like 3 to 5 minute shorts reels. As a podcaster, I understand that the shorts are allowed to be as long as 10 minutes. If it is a compelling scenario, if you're saying something of substance that will capture the audience for 10 minutes. But for the most part, you're averaging around about 3 minutes to keep their attention, and then you technically lose the people and they keep swiping. You can get lost. Your attention span diminishes by a lot, and you can get lost for hours in the TikTok platform, because if you're not satisfied with what you're looking at, you could just keep scrolling up until you find something that you want to see. And then the algorithm will keep sending you similar content to that, to the magnitude where you end up on there for hours. You would have seen 60 to 300 videos in an hour. Just flipping through. You can find yourself up there for 4 hours just flipping through and never being stuck on any one topic for no long period of time. That's nothing like this, because if you come to this channel, you're going to be sitting here listening to me talk for over an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours. And if you get tired of my voice, you get tired of the topic that we're talking about, the topic, you don't agree with it, you swipe, and that's it. It's done. And it's a little bit different too, because unlike YouTube, TikTok, if you run out of the For You page and you reach the bottom of it, it'll buffer, and then it'll reset the page and start reissuing you more stuff. Now, one thing that I've experienced with this is that if you watch it long enough, it'll start resending you the same stuff you've already seen multiple times. And once you start remembering, oh, I've seen this already, you understand you've been on there too damn long. Now, but the fact is that they're going to make a bunch of money because they're going to get ad revenue share, which is just like YouTube's revenue share. But YouTube's revenue share is giving you guys like 1/10 of a penny for every view that you get, which is not a lot, because you need like between 100 and 1,000 people to watch your thing on a shorts reel in order for you to make a penny. And then you start looking at stacking it up by like 100,000, 200,000, 1 million views to make like $20 off of revenue share, as opposed to long form videos that pays out a lot larger amounts. So if you were a podcaster, it doesn't pay as much to ride the shorts wheel from TikTok versus being one of those podcasts that can sit on long forms and have like 100,000 people watch their podcast for 6 hours. That you'd make a few $100s, if not more than that, as a podcaster, if you got a few thousand or a few 100,000 people watching your podcast for 4 hours straight as a 16:9. But in this 9:16 format, yeah, 5,000 people probably get me 50 cents. So it doesn't pay the way people think it does. It's a lot of work to turn this into a paid living. It really is. You got to get you a pretty big follower. And to do this as men, you got to put a lot more effort into it. It's not something that you can do and it just automatically hits. Like girls, you put on attractive outfits and sit here and half the time don't even have to talk. But if you talk and sound cute about it and don't say anything that's too controversial, you're probably going to get a few 100,000 viewers, because you're going to have the pro women movement that's going to say, go girl, you look attractive, keep doing you. And you're going to have the dirty old men drooling over the body and doesn't even have to say anything of relevance. And she could get 10 times more people on her channel than what I could get, because the people that are here are only going to be here for let's do a few podcast sit downs, go over everything you talk about. There's sometimes I want to ask a question, but the topics keep riding out. The fact is, if you have that's one of the reasons why this show is called This, That, and Everything in Between, because I have so many details and I have no problem with the fans derailing the topic. I have absolutely no problem with you derailing the topic. The topic goes on as long as it goes on, because I have so much information on that topic, and it just takes that much time to get all of the information out. But I try my best not to repeat the same topic. So like those Red Pill podcasts will have we're going to talk about the same thing every week. Every time we air the show, it's just going to be like different people, but no matter how you look at it, it's the exact same theme topic. I come up with something different on a regular basis, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's always a new topic. So when I talk about business and finance, there's something else about business that I talk about. If I have to talk about politics, or something else about politics that I talk about. When I talk about social inequalities, it's something else every time. Right. Just like he said, same thing, different girls. Right. But see, with me, there's no girls. It's a different topic every time. So even today, talking about wife material, what is wife material, and why some women don't want to adhere to the expectations of wife material. I did research, and I can tell you off of the research, I got about 22 pages, which will take about 25 or 30 minutes to run through all of it. And I'm on page 3. And I would go through the ideologies of it, concepts from the women's side of things, the concepts from the men's side of things, and anybody who wants to jump in there and break down what did happen, what didn't happen, what they prefer and what they don't prefer. And whoever wants to jump in and say what they want to say can say whatever they want to say throughout the timeline. Now, unfortunately, tonight it's not going to be as long as most nights, because I do have a 1 o'clock contract in Asia that I have to handle. So while it is almost 11 o'clock, I got about 2 hours left to get all of the information across. But anybody who wants to go over anything that I talk about on the podcast, I could tell you we can go over all of it, because like you said, you wanted to do a few podcast sit downs and go over everything that we talk about, because you want to ask questions. But the topic wrote out, what questions do you want to ask? Which topics did you have questions about? Because I can review all of those topics. And if in the event that I don't finish what I was talking about today, I have no problem with subsidizing it in a follow-up topic tomorrow, because Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we do social inequalities, relationship improvements, personal improvement, first-person accountability. Like all of those themed stuff happens from Thursday to Saturday. And then Sunday, we do like the Q&As where questions and comments pop in. People say stuff, ask questions, whatever, and then I respond to the information that I get off of the comment section. So which questions did you want to ask about? Because you've been here since Sunday. So which topics did you want to talk about? Feel free to ask whatever you want to ask. related to any of the topics that you've come across over the past couple of weeks. Because I know that structuralizing the information is very hard because there's a lot of it. Have you ever considered doing call-ins? Well, see, that's the thing. I covered that basis. You see this right here? If you click that link, approve the mic, approve the camera, it brings you into my green room. If you are in the green room, you're over the age of 18, I put you up on a thing. If you don't want to be seen, you can turn your camera off. I can hear your voice. I don't have to see your face. You can say in real time what you have to say so that you don't have to keep up with the lag, because there's a 3 to 5 second lag from when I say it versus when you hear it, which, as you noticed, it was hard for me to juggle the audio file on Sunday, because when I turn the text to voice, I have to listen to it, and you're listening to it with a 2 to 3 second delay from when I listen to it. I have to find the right pause time because StreamYard hasn't fixed that, because something happened with the system where it's no longer allowing me to hear it while you're hearing it. So I have to hear it adjacent, and sometimes it echoes into the mic. So I have to figure all that stuff out with StreamYard until they finish it, because they just did a upgrade on the platform, but it messed up audio files. So, but yeah, if you wanted to, you asked me if I ever thought about doing call-ins. I covered that basis, because if you're sitting here looking at me, you can click that link. You can come in. I can make sure you're grown, because we do got some trolls that like to come in and clown, and I'm not throwing kids up there, and I'm not putting up inappropriate individuals up there. So if something pops up and there's a butt face up there, I'm not doing that. But if you genuinely want to dive in, because we had some individuals that came onto the podcast from time to time, and when they jumped in, they had lots of insight. So that actually does circumvent calling in. I mean, I could provide a phone number that is specifically dedicated to the podcast, but in order for you guys to hear what they're saying, I'm going to have to put them on speakerphone so that the comments are, and which is pretty much the same as clicking that link and coming onto the show and saying what you got to say in real time. And if I've got a lot of people that are going to be doing that, I can always put us on that 16:9 format where I could put like 8 or 10 people on the screen at the same time, and including myself, and all of us can have an open forum discussion, the same way you see the picture-in-picture on TikTok, where you see like 9 or 10 people in the chat, all having an open discussion. So yeah, that's possible here. And one of the things that StreamYard did was try to emulate some of the stuff that TikTok has, so that it makes it more usable for creators to do this across multiple platforms. So I'm not just exclusive to just one platform. I'm actually providing this information to Twitch and Twitter and YouTube. And if I get the more advanced version, I can throw in 3 or 4 more channels at the same time and be streaming everywhere. I could throw Kick in there. I can throw Rumble in there, and just as long as I got a stream key, I could just throw them all in here and be broadcasting all of them at the same time, which brings more people from more places. And it doesn't help for my revenue, but it does help for my reputation. So, yeah. So, but if you guys have questions about the topics, by all means, go ahead and throw them in. Now, Carl wants to talk about religion. What would you like to talk about with religion, Carl? Because I could tell you that when we start talking about religion, as even though that is a sensitive topic that not a lot of people care to go into, because their beliefs are shrouded by their decision-making skills, not because they're either right or wrong about their observations of the Bible or their observations of their religious background, if they're not Catholic or Christian. It's just that the decision-making process of some people doesn't adhere to the expectations of most religions, but they try to it is opening a can of worms. They try to justify their behavior, but you really can't. I have not come across a religion that encourages you to devalue and demoralize the other people in your society. I have not come across a religion that allows you to devalue and degrade and demoralize yourself. I have not come across a religion How about being born again? Okay, so you want to talk about being born again. Now, that's going to be that's a interesting topic to have. What do you mean by being born again? Do you mean like reincarnation, or do you mean like those individuals who like do a life-changing practice where they start behaving differently than what they behaved in the past? Because being born again can be represented in more than one concept. Technically, marriage is a form of being born again if you look at it from the right lens. Because when you think about, because they have those religious groups that does the whole rebirth practice where they like wrap you up in blankets and have a bunch of people sit on you and have you fight your way out and hope that you don't lose your life in the process. And in those scenarios, once you've gone through that process, you're supposed to behave differently than what you used to behave before you went through all of that. Now, I understand it's easier for those people who do the whole born again, which is a lot like repentance in a way. It's like a complex variation of repentance where you recognize your faults, you start going through this process, and then here we go. You ask the God or Lord or whoever that you believe in to forgive you for what you have done. And that's exactly what you're explaining here, asking God to be your Lord and Savior and repenting of your sins, a new creature. Right. Now, the issue that we have with that, Carl, is that a lot of the people, the Christians and Catholics here in the Western culture, will commit sin on Friday and Saturday, and sometimes Wednesday because it's ladies' night, Thursday because it's Latin night, then go to church on Sunday, body of Christ, blood of Christ, and then do it again on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Now, for those who intend on sinning, you got to be real. Stop playing the fake. For those who intend on sinning, just keep sinning. When you decide that you're going to cut that stuff out, that is when you're supposed to go up there. So when they're doing that ceremony partway through, either the second or third time that the collection plate has been passed around the congregation, that's usually when they start offering they do the tithes and offerings right before they do this particular portion. The Catholics got the confessional where you guys can go when church is not being held, because the same person who gives a sermon is the same person in the confessional booth. So it's not really anonymous. They don't know who's walking in and sitting down all the time. Technically, they can see you, but they don't always know who's walking in and sitting down. But you know who you're talking to when you're confessing, because that's the person on the other side of the wall, the same person who gave the sermon. Now, that person is not supposed to talk about the stuff that you tell them, but it's to the integrity of the person that's doing this. Now, think about it. While they have the confidentiality scenarios, do you believe that a serial killer can commit murder, confess his sin in the church, commit murder again, confess his sin in the church, and keep doing that? And the person he's confessing to is not going to tip the police off. It's not exactly. It is in our nature to sin. It's not just that we are born into it. We have to understand that when it comes down to the our understanding of sins, there are certain things that we're going to do instinctively. For example, lust, greed, lies. These are things that we're going to do by nature. We lie because we don't want to get in trouble for the things that we did wrong. Self-preservation. We lie because we can't handle how you're going to react to the truth. Sometimes we lie to protect the people that we care about, which is self-preservation of our tribe, our clan, our pack. We lie out of fear, but we're never supposed to lie, allegedly, right? So 100% transparency, always tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Keeping secrets is a variation of lying. Withholding information is a variation of lying. If you know that there's more information to this scenario than what you are giving to the general population that's listening to you, you are inherently lying because you are not telling them the whole truth. You're not telling them everything. Letting them come to conclusions by skipping over certain details and letting them piece together the information you gave them and derive their own conclusion is still a form of lying, because while you are telling the truth when you do make statements, you're leaving out versions of the truth that would help them have a better understanding of the situation. Lust is going to happen right after puberty. We're going to have lust. And because of the Western culture, sexualization and monetization of sexualization, the fact is lust is going to be a thing that is going to be shoved in our faces from the puberty, from the first erection to the first development of breasts. Children are going to be smashing one another until they get too old to do that. Nobody is teaching anybody how to be modest. Nobody's teaching anybody self-control, and nobody's teaching anybody self-preservation when it comes to lust. Gluttony, overabundance of, it's also considered one of those sins, right? Now, nobody is going to teach each other to portion control. Portion control leads to moderation. Moderation leads to quality over quantity. When you put portion control in line with lust, instead of smashing as many females as you can, or instead of smashing as many dudes as you can, you only give yourself to those individuals that look like they are promising for an extended period of time, if you're not going to save yourself for marriage, which actually would reduce your body count on both the man and woman side. Which still spins us back to our conversation about wife material. When we start talking about the loyalty amongst each other, because not coveting thy neighbor's wife is basically fidelity. If she's taken, don't try to take her from the person that she's supposedly dedicating herself to. And that works both ways. If he is taken, don't try to take him from the person that he's supposed to be dedicated to. But a lot of people, male and females alike, treat it as a sport, that they want what they can't have or what they shouldn't have. So, and then again, when we come down to thou shalt not kill, we don't want to be killed unnecessarily. So we expect other people to not kill unnecessarily. And in order for us to support that type of dynamic, we try not to kill unnecessarily. And I think the other one that we have outside of the one true God, which would be the first commandment, we do have the other commandment of respecting our parents. The people who raise you don't bite the hand that feeds you. The people who take care of you, you are supposed to respect them, even if you don't agree with their decision-making process. And then they are supposed to mold you and teach you and provide you with the knowledge that you need to be successful, even if they're doing that by showing you what not to do based on learning from their mistakes, or showing you what to do by observing their successes. You are supposed to be, as your own individual person, required to learn from the people around you, and then take the information that you get and analyze it and determine what you're going to keep and what you're going to discard. If you were to read every different religious book there is, and there's more than 2, all of them have the same concepts written in different languages, representing different practices. They all have the same concepts. So if you take all of those concepts, which are in line, as me and Carl was talking about on Sunday, are in line with Corinthians 1-31 on how to treat yourself and how to treat the people around you, how to treat your society. The fact is that when we're talking about these relationship topics, we are in fact talking about the 7 deadly sins. because you have no respect for yourself when you're out there dressing scantily clad. You have no respect for yourself when you're out there trying to get somebody easy. You're not showing respect for your partner when you're acting like you're single. For both men and women, you're not respecting your partner if you're willing to involve yourself in out of relationship practices without the knowledge or consent of your partner. You're not supporting a unified household overall. Your authority figure, the women put men in a responsible position to be authority figures, and then they don't want to adhere to that authority. Well, you put him there to be the authority. And that's one of the issues that we have, is that why put a man in a position that you don't want him to be in, but you say that's what you expect a man to be? Women don't answer that conundrum. If I'm supposed to be a protector and a provider, how can I protect you if you won't follow my instructions? I can be a human ATM machine. I can be a simp that continuously feeds you capital, but I can't really be a protector of you, which means that you really just have me to subsidize your income. So you're using me for my money, but you have no value in me at all, not even with the money. I better give you money, or the only thing that you're providing, bringing to the table in that particular type of scenario is sex. I don't get sex, which means that in that dynamic, he's renting her for her time and potentially sex. And sex is not a guarantee in that dynamic. It is a tool that is dangled over the man's head, and sometimes he gets it, and most of the time he doesn't. But he pays consistently, whether he gets it or not. Whether she's in the mood or not in the mood, he pays regardless. He pays for her presence, and if she sleeps with him, then he gets sex. So, yeah, when we even when we talk about relationships, we're still talking about social interaction, social improvement, first person accountability, because when we start talking about understanding that if we're going to behave ourselves under the expectations that we're God's children, or if you're coming from other religions with Buddha and every other variation of it, the fact is that the nature of our sins is going to come from our environment, as Joseph said, but our ability to overcome that dynamic comes from the teachings from the elders in our environment. And that's where podcasts like this come in at, because most religions will mention a godly power. They'll call him Jesus, Jehovah. They'll call him Yaman. They call him all kinds of things, and they can call him Buddha, because you have the Father and the Son, and in some religions the Father is the Son and the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit sometimes is the Father. And three entities, that's also one entity, which is always confusing, because we don't rationalize or compartmentalize three beings being the same being, because we understand that a child is created from two adults. The adult shouldn't be the child, but we understand that with incest, that your mother can be your sister, but your father cannot be your brother. Well, technically it can. Your father can be your brother if the incest happens with mom. But I mean, for the most part, like your son can't be your dad at the same time, kind of thing. That's what I'm trying to get at. And that's the weirdest parts about the Christian and Catholic religion, because when they explain that the work of the Lord, of an invisible being that nobody can see, the work of that being is done from the actions of the people we can see, which means that an entity that we cannot see can compel us in some way, shape, or form, even though we have free will, can compel us in some way, shape, or form to act in a positive fashion, as if we otherwise would not act in a positive fashion. There's confusion there also. The fact is, though, is that if you're going to put every positive thing that happens, redirecting that to an entity that you cannot, because faith is believing in something that you cannot yet see, something that has not happened, something that does not make itself available to you for observation. That's where faith is. So we do not have a position where we just know because your boy came and started moonwalking on the flood that's about to happen in California. Your boy didn't come touch down and start, electric sliding across all those electric cars that caught on fire in Florida a few months ago. We have only read about, and then when we're reading about him in the book, you have to understand that the King James book is a variation of a translation, which isn't necessarily translated correctly. And we also understand that the book is missing some information. So there's some scripture that's not in the book. And we don't really care about that. We just understand that the chapters we do have piece together and make sense. But religion has always been a foundation for moral and ethical behavior. And while the religion is, Joseph says, until the law, we didn't know we were sinning. Right. Yes. And Carl says, I became born again Christian. I used to go to a Catholic church, and I was a selfish person with selfish desires. I now have a relationship instead of a religion, brother. Hey, if you have a relationship with God, if you have a relationship with a higher power, if you have a more positive relationship with your network, your friends and family and your loved ones, then you're still in a better position than what you were when you were making careless, selfish decisions. But one of the things that I notice is that while people claim to be religious in times of need, a lot of people could care less in times of celebration. And when you try to deliver a message that is devoid of religion, a lot of people are insulted by the fact that you're even on a religious topic, and then they will try to attack you as a person. They always go after the messenger, never the message, and devalue you as a person and degrade you as a person to ignore the message. So even on this podcast, when I take this information and I provide information to individuals from a uniformed perspective, all of it comes from more or less the moral and ethical findings that will stem from religious beliefs, because everyone has a religious, whether we're willing to admit it or not, everyone has a religious upbringing from somewhere. And the thing is that, Joseph says, I believe religion kills. Relationship is where it's at. Yeah. The relationship. So this is one of the issues that I've had with my experiences in religious structures, is that the person that is preaching the supposed gospel is telling everybody what he or she wants them to accept. Sometimes the message stems from personal experience, where the pastor, priest, or a person that is delivering a sermon went through something recently, and they decided to do a sermon about that. And then they're going to push their belief onto somebody else. And then if you don't agree with them, you're going to go to hell. I don't agree with that concept. My understanding is that your ability to do the best that you can within your limited knowledge to do right by yourself and to do right by your society should lead you in the correct path, hopefully. But there is an age-old saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You thought you were doing the right thing, but you were taking drastically negative actions to receive the outcome. Now, based on the understanding that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, you have to then analyze your decision-making process in line with your intentions comes with consequences. Those consequences can either be favorable or non-favorable. If those consequences are favorable, then you're on the right path. If those consequences are not favorable, then you're on the wrong path. And that's one of the reasons why I have come from a uniformed perspective when I talk about all the topics that I talk about on the show. because like when we're talking about the wife material with being a partner, with aiding your partner in his or her success in the relationship, and supporting each other's individual drives, as well as supporting your partner's drive, nowhere in there am I saying, well, one person is required to be oppressed because that person is a male or a female, or no one person is required to be oppressed because that person doesn't bring as many resources to the relationship as the other person. I always say, look, whatever you got to contribute, because it's just like in business, whatever you have to contribute, you contribute that, you do the best that you can, he or she does the best that they can, and then you guys make the best of it. And then you guys can divide everything evenly, or you can divide things 60-40 or whatever. But the fact is that you're supposed to get out of it enough of what you need to continue contributing to it, so that your partner can get enough of what they need out of it so that they can continue contributing to it. And that brings balance. So a lot like relationships is a better understanding than trying to trump down the diversification of religion. The fact is that uniformity actually pushes a lot more. It pushes a lot more equality or equal equity, because the individuals are only going to get as much as they put in, but that requires both people to do. And they're not really, we're not seeing a lot of that today, because in our modern society in 2025, we have very few people that are even following biblical upbringings. And we also have very few people that are not only not following the biblical upbringings, they're selfish and they're not willing to share and or contribute to the success of someone else. It could stem from being in selfish relationships with other people, but it could stem also from them observing selfishness being performed when they watch how their parents acted with one another, or when they watch how their auntie and uncles treated one another, when they watch how their brothers and sisters experience relationships, and then they develop a safeguard of selfishness to make sure that they're not deprived of the resources that they believe that they're entitled to. Which leads to one of the reasons why men prefer women with a lower body count, because I mean, the less times you experience a selfish boyfriend, the less reasons you have to be selfish. Joseph says that in the Bible, the only time God talks about a man's helper is the Holy Spirit and his wife. Right. That's true. But we also have to understand that in 2025, when we start trying to identify wives, which is what I was doing today, identifying the wife material, the fact is that you must understand that wives are not something that you become after you're married. If even in the Bible, he created a wife before she married Adam, right? She was the wife from birth. You're not entitled to the position of wife just because you live and breathe. You have rules, you have responsibilities, you have obligations. And the material factor of wife, which is what today's show was about, expressing the ideology that some of the women have, why they feel oppressed by the sociological gender roles of wives, versus the true expectations of a wife, which is not necessarily the same, because household duties is not all it takes for a wife. It's the first things that a man thinks about, because those are the things that go undone in his personal life. But wives are wives from birth, and men are not looking for wives when they first get into their relationships. They're looking for consistent sex partners, which is lust. And because your relationship is not starting from an honorable position, you are blinded by lust, and your blindness for lust leads you down the wrong path, because you end up with a person that is only after you for greed, and the both of you are dealing with gluttony. The more money she gets from you and the more sex you get from her, the more y'all stay together. But the moment she starts cutting you off from sex, you're cheating, and now you have the thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. And the first time you stop giving her money, she starts disrespecting you, and then she goes off and covets thy neighbor's wife also. So between lust, gluttony, and greed, you have the piss poor relationships that exist in 2025. But the fact is that a wife is supposed to know what the husband wants and needs, and then strive to do that. The same way husbands are supposed to know what a wife wants and needs and strives to do that. Men understand that they're not perfect, and men understand that they must change in order to be successful in a relationship. So the man walks into the relationship asking a shit ton of questions. Women know what they want, but they don't walk into the relationship giving a shit about what the man wants, because a lot of them that were catering to the man the first 1 to 5 relationships that they were in, when they were submitting to the man, obedient to the man, respectful to the man, putting the man's needs first, that first 3, 4, 5 relationships that woman did that between the age of 16 and 24, depending on how young she started dating, after she got treated like shit quite a few times by some of those guys that wasn't valuable, because she was after the bad guy, she was after the rebel, she was after adventure and excitement, not boring vanilla stability, enough mistreatment. She's not willing to do that no more. She's not willing to put that much effort into a man. She's not willing to raise a man. She's not willing to mold a man. She's not willing to take a man that has the potential and mold him into what she wants him to be. She's not willing to take a man like a Honda Civic and soup him up to be a supercar faster than a Viper. She's not willing to do that. She's willing to buy that Hellcat with the Scat Pack on it, but she's not willing to. No, actually, she's willing to have the Hellcat with the Scat Pack donated to her, but she's not willing to take a Prius and put a Viper motor in it and make that sumbitch the fastest one on the track. She wants to win every race, though. And the misconception of that is the fact that you cannot get the final product if you don't make it, because there is no one size fits all man. There's no one size fits all woman. There's no one size fits all outfit, which is why if you buy a pair of pants that don't fit, you put a belt on. If you buy a pair of shoes that don't fit, you double up on the socks. Buy you some thicker socks. You have to make adjustments. It's not one size fits all. It's one size fits most. You understand? And relationships are the same way. Carl says, bottom line is we're both here for God's glory, not for our selfish desires. We are here to serve God, and God created women to be our helper, to also serve him. Now, that's where women have an issue, which is what I was going to be talking about on the show later today. Women are being offended by the servant idea because they're completely forgetting about the aspects from a religious perspective of serving God. The fact is that their pissed offness is about their understanding that they are serving a man. They don't care about being a helper to the man, because they believe that being a helper to the man is servitude to the man, which is a form of oppression and slavery, which is then going to make them feel in their own self-image less valuable, which they're going to argue against. And this is going to come from a large quantity of women that are teaching the next generation of women. And some of these women are toxic, bitter women that made bad choices in good relationships. The man that they wanted got away. They can't get him back. Now they're telling the next generation, the men that are garbage, leave them. Don't give them a chance. I was just looking at some of the women on social media late last night, early this morning, in between clients, where one woman's like, oh, you're supposed to buy me things, to take me places and do stuff for me. And that's what you're supposed to do. And if you don't do that, then I'm out, bro. And then in the comments, all the women were in there like, you go, girl. Yeah, they need to know their place and this, that, and the third. Why is it that equality requires the feminist mind to make a man a servant to the woman when she is supposed to help the man be successful? Never did we ever say that the woman was a servant to the man. Now, some people preach that. Some of the red pills believe that the only way that the situation will work is if the woman accepts her role as being beneath a man and subordinate to the man. But I've come to understand, what about being a helper and a partner, not a servant? If you are an investor in the same stock, you're entitled to the dividends from that stock, instead of coming from the understanding that that you're putting in all this effort for your own success in the same relationship, as opposed to you're not putting in all this effort for his success. Because think about the women that they work these 9-to-5 jobs. I got you, Joseph. I see you too, Carl. But think about these women. They got their 9-to-5 jobs, right? They go to work. They put all this ass bucks and labor into this job so that they can make minimum wage. You're putting in more work than what you're getting paid. You're covering the slack of the people on the clock that's doing TikTok videos instead of doing a damn job on a production line. You're covering the shift for the folks that's sick. You're coming in on your days off and you slaving for a man that is your boss more often than not, especially in the restaurant business. And you're doing what he tells you to do because you are all working under the same goal for the compensation to make the business successful, so that the business can then turn a profit for the top 1% of billionaires that own that company. But when you take that same female out of that 9-to-5 minimum wage job and put her at the house and say, be a partner with this husband, be a partner with this boyfriend, work alongside him the way you work for your male boss, so that you and your husband can make your life better, so that you can be more successful in your life, because you and your husband will aid in your success, because you aided your husband in being more financially successful so that he can contribute to your success. The women, he better have it before I find him. He better be a Bugatti before I find him. She a crashed up Nissan Maxima that caught on fire because it ran into Paul Walker next to that tree. He better be a Bugatti. Why? Joseph says this is from a feminist viewpoint. I've spoken with a woman from the Philippines, and she couldn't understand why women in the US are like this. And that is exactly why I tell men, you can go to the Philippines for $500 a month. That's how much a woman would cost in the Philippines. Dates are cheaper than that. I'm talking about if you wanted a personal assistant to do all the shit that your girlfriend and wife won't do, it'll cost you about $500 a month. $500 a month. 30 days. You divide that up. That's a little under $110, $120 a week. Okay. And she's like, whatever you want, 24/7. Legit. They in the Philippines, it's even legal. The wife contract, where you actually pay this girl to be your wife. You pay her by the hour, pay her by the day, pay her by the month to be your wife, and she will do everything that you need her to do. And a lot of these contracts lead to a long-term marriage. It leads to 15, 20, 30-year career where her entire existence is making sure that he got what he needs so that he could take care of what she needs. Again, treating the relationship as a business where you're both working for the success of the business. Because if the man is successful with bringing in more money because he can focus, he's not stressed out, he's not exhausted, he's well fed, he's well clothed, he can go out there and do what he needs to do to bring in the money, which is his responsibility. What a lot of women expect the man to have that responsibility, even though there are some women who have the ability to go out there and get that. Oh, I see it, Carl. I'm gonna get to what he said too. But they've got some women out there that can get out there and get that money just as good, if not better, than a man. She is no better or no worse than a man, but she also has to remember that when she brings her share back to the tribe, She's supposed to be able to contribute to the success of the tribe, not her own individual success. And that's where the dynamic falls apart, because a financially successful woman says her money is her money and his money is her money. No financially successful man says his money is his money and her money is his money. He says what's his is hers, and happy wife, happy life. So the dynamic doesn't add up. Carl says, do you notice it's the single women that are alone that poison the married women's minds? But Carl, it's not just the single women that poison the married women's mind. It's the divorced women too that poison the married women's minds. It is the women that are separated where they haven't gotten divorced yet that are poisoning the single women's minds. It is the women that are widows where they were going to get a divorce, but the man died first, that are poisoning the women's minds. You have a smaller portion of women that are 10, 20, 30, 40 years married, convincing women to salvage and support and build the marriage, than what you have 80 to 90% of the women that are telling all the rest of the women, just be single. Just be single, live a swinger's life. It's better that way. But it's truth that it's better that way for the women, because if she's got 10 male friends, she has 10 male sex partners that she is not committed to, she has no responsibilities for because they're not her boyfriends. She has 10 paychecks because they're going to pay for her time. They're going to buy her what she needs, pay for her babysitters, be her babysitters. She has no responsibility. And because she has 10 or 15 male friends, instead of her asking one male friend for $1,000, she can ask each one of the 10 male friends for $100. And it's easy for a man who's got it to slide her $100 every now and again. Likewise, you've got the scenario where you got women that might have 20, 30, 40 friends, male friends. Same dynamic. You don't have to ask all of them for $100, because if you got 20, 30, 40, 50 male friends, you can ask each one of them for $20. But when you multiply 20 times 50, your standard of living is being paid over here. Then these guys want to hang out with you. You can hang out with a different guy every day. Each one of them is required by social standards to pay for your entertainment. So she doesn't pay for entertainment. Then they're going to give her gifts. If they're emotionally attached to her, but she could give two shits about them, they're going to buy more stuff for her to show her their affection through gifts. Now she's got more stuff. It's better for the woman to be single. Doesn't make her valuable. It's just better for the woman to be single because she could be selfish and profit off of having a multitude of men. But see, when the men are looking for wives and the women aren't looking to be wives, the women start finding it hard to find a relationship. They start finding it hard to find a date. We had a woman that came up on a thing and talked about how she put up a male profile catfishing just to see what it was like to be a dude. And the way she got shut down so much on this profile, she was heartbroken as a female. So you can only imagine, she only did it for what, I think 2 or 3 weeks. No, when she first talked about it, she did it for 2 days. And she was distraught in 2 days, but she did it for 2 or 3 weeks and she was just done. And I'm like, bro, you just did it for a few weeks. Try living that life for 20, 30, 40 years. All the rejection you got to go through. Joseph says, facts, Carl. My wife knows not to hang out with single women. She hears to everyone weekend from her single coworker how she's miserable and running through different men. Of course. And Carl said, you got a good one. And yeah, Joseph, you do got a good one because your wife is smart. She stayed her ass at home because you could go out and have a good time. Being a wife or being a girlfriend doesn't require you to stay home. Being a wife and being a girlfriend requires you to make sure that your responsibilities are taken care of first. And then after you've taken care of your responsibilities, then you can go and do what you want to do. But when you're going out, you're not going out to go and get drunk, lose consciousness, not know where your whereabouts are, parade around as if you're single so that single men who are looking for a companion will see wife material or girlfriend material in the girlfriend that's already taken and then make advances on her. That's false advertisement already because you are not single. So you're not supposed to be going somewhere that single people go where single people can come and hit on you. But low self-esteem, the women will go out there to get validation because they don't feel like they've got enough validation with their man praising them at the house. And God forbid, if the man doesn't praise the woman enough with the oversaturation of praise from social media, bro, if you get your girlfriend to turn off her social media account, if she's got one, she gonna need praise from somewhere, bro. You're with 200,000-300,000 people telling her how beautiful she is and all the stuff they do for her. All the people sliding in the DMs, promising her the world like Aladdin when he had the genie. Then when she meet them in person, the genie ain't with they broke ass, and then she get to see what they really like. The truth of the matter is that you've got a large quantity of people that have been conditioned. The women are conditioned to receive compliments and the men are conditioned to give them. I've been telling men on the podcast for the longest period of time that we've got to stop giving empty compliments to the women. If she is wearing a tight outfit and we're sexually attracted to her, keep it to yourself. Don't compliment the outfit just because you would prefer to sleep with her, but that's not the appropriate statement to say. So you're going to say you look cute. Don't lie to her. Tell her the truth. I seen that outfit and I wanted to smash. Oh, the women don't like that. They call it catcalling, but that is the true thought process of the guy that complimented you and said that you look good today. That was the filtered version of the exact same compliment. Carl says gossip is a demonic spirit. Bro, you got to understand that vanity is the demonic spirit that that is destroying these women mentally before we even get to gossip. The fact is, though, it is worse. The gossip is coming from the position of Judas, where they selling you out because they think that they're going to benefit from that. And that's going to be more along the lines of vanity, not so much just the gossip demon, because gossip is going to be me talking shit about you to make me look good by making you look bad. I'm better than you because you ain't shit. That's not how that works, but that's the dynamic that they do. Gossip, when you talk about how other people fuck up their lives, they mess their lives up by making bad choices. And if you hear about it, you know, in Asia, they ignore it. But today in America, you going viral if you do something fucked up. Joseph says, wife cut out social media going on a year now. See, he got wife material. He good. She said it feels like a detox from always comparing herself to other women. And you are definitely right, Joseph. You will be. If I was to compare myself to all of the other podcasts that are on social media, I would be that. You've seen it. The young man that was, how you doing, DJ One? DJ One in the house. Special shout out to DJ One. But if you would see me, you would remember that dude. Remember the one young buck in the purple and black suit, and he was having a seizure across the street, turned it into a new dance, millions of followers. If I was trying to get a bunch of views and I was trying to be on top of the social media trends, trying to compare myself to somebody, I would be doing the same stupid shit he doing. And a lot of the time, and women are more on there just showing off their bodies. They're trying to show off the hourglass figure, trying to wear sexy outfits, and hoping that they don't have a wardrobe malfunction like Janet Jackson at the Oscars, and try to portray themselves as sexy. They do all the stuff to their hair, their makeup. They got the Photoshop, because you got to understand they're changing the pixelations and all this other stuff before they go live. And then when they do that 60-second to 3-minute video, she looks so cute, till you take off some of the filters. There are no filters on this camera. Actually, there's only one that flips the screen to a mirror image. So my left hand is actually on my right hand. That's the only difference. But there are no filters on the screen. There is a light enhancement filter, and that's what you see dimming and going out, just so that you don't have the reflection in the glass have the glare into the screen. That's all I got. But the ladies, they've got pimple eliminators. They've got the rosy red cheek situation, the extra lip balm scenario, poppy eye thing. They got all this other stuff on there. They be really going CGI with the shit. And it is crazy that that's not what they really look like on a regular basis. DJ1 says involuntary celibacy must pitch awful. Nobody's gonna like involuntary celibacy, but you got to understand that they forcing men into involuntary celibacy when they talking about they want monogamy, but they head hurt, neck hurt, back hurt, stomach hurt, tired, sleepy. Is that time of the month? Is that time of the week? Is that time of the day? I'm tired. I'm hungry, but I don't know what I want to eat. Let's spend 4 hours guessing what I want to eat, and by the time we figure out how I'm fed, I'm too tired because I just ate. Let me digest my food. You'd have took off 28 out of 30 days talking about some. I just wasn't in the mood. Then why did you pick him? DJ also says, I don't think you're offering advice that'll help actually get girls. This is just whining. Offer compliments without being a clown about it. Come on, this is, he says, sad. So DJ, I just want you to understand that we're not sitting over here whining about it. You actually dived in an hour and a half into a concept, and we were actually talking about a lot of things today. We even covered some biblical understandings where the wise words of Carl and Joseph, sorry, the wise words of Carl and Joseph is further emphasizing the biblical connotations where morals and ethics and the lack thereof stem from religious backgrounds and religious understandings. And as we were going through these understandings, we were tying that into the unexpected social inequalities that we have in today's Western society. You're talking about offer compliments without being a clown about it. You can offer compliments without being a clown about it, but when you understand where the compliments come from, DJ, you have to understand that the compliments are not always appropriate in and of themselves. If you see, look at any social media platform where there's a female standing there in an overly sexualized outfit, most of the compliments in there are filtered from what they were originally thinking versus what they actually typed. Most men, lustful, are thinking lustfully of this woman, and their response is going to be in the form of, oh, she's cute, or she's attractive, or, you know, I like the way you look in that outfit, or something to that effect. But truth of the matter is, DJ, the fact is that the only thing the man is thinking about when he's throwing that compliment at her is that I'd like to sleep with that girl. That's it. But when you think about the fact that a female could actually have something more to offer than just her looks, when you compliment a female, you're going to compliment her genuinely. A genuine compliment would look, see, I'm going to get to you, Carl. He said, DJ said, it's not just poor expectations and then a failure to get something unrealistic. Talking about poor expectations, bro. You want to know how to pick up girls from the Bible? No, I don't. He said, so be smarter. That's on you. I'm not talking about how to pick up girls. This show isn't even about, today's episode was not even about how to pick up girls. It was not even about how to pick up girls. By all means, I could give to whatever's about And Carl said, DJ, you got it all wrong, my friend. And he does. He usually has it wrong when he comes in, guys. So don't let it hurt your feelings that he's not on the same page as the rest of us, because DJ1 is one of the ones that is the naysayer in the controversial conversation, the negative voice that gives us something to debate about. So, I allow him to come through because his opinion is valuable, even if his opinion is not in line with my own. He says it's on you for going after someone you can't genuinely compliment. But the thing is, DJ, it's not about going after a person that you can't genuinely compliment. We're talking about the fact that women are genuinely, superficially complimented specifically because the men have a hidden sexual desire for the woman based on her ability to dress inappropriately on social media and broadcast that. So she has 200,000-300,000 compliments stroking her ego, and then she expects to take that ego boost and walk into society and talk to a man in person and get that same type of behavior from the lustful men, the lustful 100,000, 200,000, 2.5 million men in her DMs that's feeding her false compliments. I'm not saying that the girl is not attractive in her own right, because women have a natural beauty that they have forgotten about, which is why they cover it up with fake hair, fake nails, fake eyelashes, all this makeup, waist trainers, push-up bras, butt lifters, surgeries, and high heel shoes, tight skirts, when they could wear regular clothes and be just as sexy. They could wear regular clothes and not wear makeup. They could wear regular clothes and not wear their false hair and still be able to attract a man that will genuinely want her for who she is and actually value her for something more than sex, is what we were talking about. Exactly, Joseph. They're called simps. And those simps are the ones that are feeding the ego. So with relation to our concept, DJ, when we were talking about biblical understandings, that would be vanity. The vanity, which is one of the seven deadly sins we were talking about out of the Bible, alongside he was talking about gossip being a demonic force. And I was saying more so than a demonic force, the gossip is going to come from vanity. Vanity is going to come from areas of pride. You're going to accept all of these false compliments and then put yourself on an unworthy pedestal. You're going to devalue other people to keep yourself on an unworthy pedestal. That's what we were talking about. We had nowhere in today's conversation were the three men on this podcast talking about how to pick up chicks. You know how I know you don't know how to talk to pretty girls? Bro, I don't know where you get left field information from day one, to be real. And I can tell you that I know exactly how to talk to pretty girls. I actually don't talk to girls more often than not. Sounds judgy. Being judgmental might be related to pride. Well, being in denial could cause you to ridicule facts when facts are widely understood, peer-reviewed, socially accepted statistical analyses that usually we have even a prophet that could give you all the truth from the highest levels will be devalued because you don't want to hear the message. So you would say that, I'm being judgmental, but the fact is that if I'm right, I'm right. I'm not going to treat women differently because or I'm not going to judge women differently. Well, the whole purpose, Joseph, in order for me to maintain an open-minded, open forum podcast, my rules are set out from the beginning of the show every day, is that as long as your negativity is projected in an appropriate fashion, that I'm not going to stop you from. I'm not going to First Amendment stifle you from being a naysayer. So he can contradict and we can move on. I don't need to validate myself by entertaining anything that is so left field that we don't even need to dignify it with a response. But some of the misconceptions that he has does play in line with the topic that we're talking about, which when we're talking about the vanity of women, I'm not saying that all women are vain. I'm not saying that all women are bad women, but I am saying that those vain women that are boosted by social media comments, where those social media comments are driven by lust, and that lust is driven by the outfit she chose to wear when she posted that comment, or that video or whatever. That is what leads to a perception with all of these compliments. That perception, when she gets off of social media, that she's all that in a bag of chips. She could be a 4 and have an ego boost to a 10. Notice that 100% of the women you ask them out, well, not 100%, that would be a wrong statement. 90 to 95% of women that you ask, how would they rate themselves? And the majority of the women would say that they're a 10 across the board. All of them. Perfect. Boost themselves up. We're a 10, sister girl. But the truth is that no human being is a 10, because you always have room for improvement. You're a 9 on your best day. You're a 9, 9.5. But if you understand that you've got some failures and some faults in your life that you have to fix and put together, you're not a 10. Men can understand that they might be a 6 or a 7, you know, and the fact is that it's all playing into the character that you are, the abilities to succeed that you have outside of financial resource that derives the fact. Because if you go off of just quote unquote looks alone and get rid of all other factors, a person is closer to a 10 when a person has no flaws. If you change the way your hair look, your hair is a flaw. If you went from your natural hair to hair that you had to buy at the grocery store and attach to your scalp, that's a flaw. If you had to add makeup to your facial features, that's a flaw. If you had to add eyelashes, that's a flaw. Your attractiveness is based off of what you had to do to change what you look like so that you could be a 10. So if you look like a 10 with all this fake stuff off, then you're not a 10 when you come out of the shower, when you take all this stuff off with first thing in the morning, when you roll out of bed, before it takes you an hour and 45 minutes to put your face on. You're not a 10. That's what we're talking about. But like Carl and Joseph said, I'm not proclaiming here that I'm a prophet, but I am saying, hypothetically speaking, that a prophet could come and speak the truth. A prophet could come and speak facts. And when a prophet is speaking the truth and a prophet is speaking facts, that individual will be devalued by his or her society because they do not want to hear the truth. There's this old saying that is, don't kill the messenger. And that old saying comes from the fact that when people don't want to hear something that hurts their feelings or counters their way of understanding reality, where now they have to juggle with being wrong about their understanding of things versus accepting new information, they will devalue the person delivering the information so that they can devalue the information, because you can't devalue the information at all. The information is fact. You will then devalue the person so that the facts are no longer relevant. And that leads to conspiracy, because conspiracy is a refusal to accept the truth. Conspiracy is not a lie. Conspiracy is not a false representation of the truth. A conspiracy is the refusal to accept the truth. Because if it wasn't true, it would be a lie, not a conspiracy. For example, conspiracy to commit murder. You participated in committed murder, but the fact is that until you are directly tied to the murder, where you called somebody who killed that guy, you played a role in that. But because you didn't directly take that person's life, they're going to say, well, you didn't technically kill the guy. Conspiracy to commit murder. You put out a hit and said, hey, whoever takes this guy out, I'll give you a certain quantity of money. You participated in that person's death. Likewise, a lot of bars and clubs and restaurants that give people alcohol and then they go home driving drunk, and then the people die on their way home from the bar, that bar is technically responsible for that crash. It's conspiracy too. But a lot of the times, accountability is redirected and responsibility is deflected from the at-fault party to another party, because consequences are only distributed to the recognized at-fault party. That's why the state of Florida is a no-fault state. It's nobody's fault. You two can crash into each other head on, and it's nobody's fault. because they don't want to take responsibility for the crash. Now, since both of you've got car insurance, you're each going to pay a percentage of reasonable liability. But do you know what reasonable liability is? Your fault. So whether it's 70, 30, 60, 40, it's more your fault than my fault. It's still both of your fault in some way, shape, or form. You allowed it to happen if you didn't cause it. Joseph said, we were even talking about it's mostly a Western ideology. It's not all women. Exactly. So Carl was talking, Carl or Joseph was speaking the truth too. Yeah, it's really a cultural thing that's happened in the United States and Western cultures that it has developed into this type of behavior, because not all religions are expecting this particular type of behavior pattern. You don't see this in Dubai. And Dubai, the men have like 3, 5, 7 wives, and they give their women allowances. Dubai, the men are more financially successful because Dubai, the men are paying attention to getting their money up before they start going out there getting these women, because in certain countries like Dubai, marriages are accompanied by dowries, and dowries require you to have a certain quantity of assets and resources to afford to get the bride. Now, if you can afford to get the bride, you can have as many of them as you want in some countries and in some religions. But if you can't afford to get the bride, you are not going to be able to get married. So if you want a wife in some countries, as a man, you spend more time focusing on your grind and focusing on your hustle and building your cash up instead of chasing tail. Then when you have enough money to qualify for a wife, then you go out and try to get one. Joseph said he's a 4.5. Hey, understatement, bro. Understatement. I would say I'm a solid 5, solid 6, something like that. I don't know. Bad hair day today. Probably I'm with you. I might be a 4.5 right along with you because I'm having a bad hair day. You know, I could probably shave up, get rid of the goatee, get my hair braided, or even do like a low cut fade or whatever, and just kind of do like a nice little Omarion kind of cut scenario and end up being like a 6 or a 7, something like that. You know, but again, if we recognize that there's something about us that we could change, we're not perfect. I'm not Brock Lesnar or Bobby Lashley kind of scenario. So, you know, lean, I could potentially put on some muscle at the gym. So I could find some things that I could change, but I like the way I look. I like the way I carry myself. I have respect for myself, and I would like for the person that chooses me to choose me for the way I look right now today. I'm not expecting a woman to accept me with 7 children that I have to pay child support for. I don't have 7 children, but I make sure that I'm not out there with 13 kids talking about I want a girl to accept me, and I'm one step away from being a deadbeat dad because I can't afford to take care of all of my kids, but I want to have kids with her. I'm going to stop paying child support for these kids over here so that I could go and have kids with her. No, I'm not doing that. But likewise with ladies, if you want to have a man, and a lot of the men that want a lineage, and those men are going to want a woman that is going to be able to provide him with that lineage. And if she's tired of having children because she's already had 2 or 3 of them, she's not valuable to that man. If she's not willing to have children, she's not valuable to that man. If she ages out of the system where she can't have children, she's no longer valuable to that man. So you have to think about, when a man's perspective, a man will put himself in a position to meet the expectations of most women by first finding out what do women want in a man. And most of the women want the same thing. The top 25% of men, which is like $150,000, $200,000 a year, to be 6 feet tall. And then some of them even want athletically built. And that's it. They want to have freedom to do whatever they want, spend up all of his money, not be told what to do, look however they want to look, maintain their social media accounts with all these other dudes. And if you can at least meet some of that standard, then you can go out and try to present yourself to a female and see if she'll accept you. Women do not know what men want. And they believe that because sex is the prize, that they can offer sex to get whatever man they want. Oh, exactly, Joseph. I'm going to get to your comment in just a second. DJ1 said, but it's a bad outlook of women, not a useful one. There are girls like that. Bummer. Clearly, you can't hang with those girls. Find a different girl. get a hobby where you can meet people. But DJ, in order for you to find the kind of girl that you need, we have to recognize the kind of girl that we need to avoid. In order for you to establish non-negotiable expectations for behavior, in order for you to set boundaries, in order for you to set what the difference of quality is versus quantity, you have to first determine what is unacceptable. Once you establish what is unacceptable, then you are able to look for what is acceptable. If you say that cars with no brakes are bad cars, if you say that cars with dents and scratches on them are bad cars, if you say that cars with chip bumpers are bad cars, if you see cars with two different color hoods and two different color doors are bad cars, you can't say, oh, all cars aren't like that. Is it a car that's got a puddle of oil up under it is a bad car. A car that leaks coolant out of the front of the engine is a bad car. A car that takes 20 minutes to start up is a bad car. We're identifying characteristics and traits that are considered fails, right? We're not saying that all cars are shit, but if a car was observing this list that we're building and say, shit, I do some of that, you might want to get yourself fixed. Now, when we start talking about those characteristics, when we're discussing about women and everything, we're looking at the fact that we're not saying that all women are horrible. We're saying that there are some women out there, and these are going to be the kind of women that'll stay single, that are not girlfriend material, that are not wife material. Today's show is about women being wife material, right? Identifying what wife material is, and then why women don't want to identify as that is what we're talking about today. So we're not talking about how women are garbage at all. We're not talking about how we can't get girls. We're not talking about how, oh, the women won't pick us, because we're not talking about that. We're saying that shit, if I was to pick one of these females, they might not meet wife material. And they might have the capabilities to meet the wife material and choose not to meet wife material deliberately. Because a lot of the times a man doesn't know what he's getting until after he's got it. A woman knows what she's getting out the gate because a man behaves like he would behave as a husband from day one. A woman will entertain his time as long as he's paying for it from day one. She doesn't start showing her value to the man until she decides to commit to the man, and she does not show 100% of her value to the man until times get tough and she start kicking out effort in order to support his agenda. That's when she really starts showing her true self. Whether or not shit get hard and she gonna stay, or shit get hard and she gonna leave, that's when she starts showing her real self. When she don't have no responsibility, she ain't showing you shit. But as soon as you give her responsibility, that's when you get to see what kind of woman she is. But because, like Joseph say, they want security, they want financial security, you got to be able to show that you can afford her. Steak and lobster, you're wasteful, but if you can afford to take her out for steak and lobster, she feel like you got money. If you drive up in an expensive car, it could be a rental, but if you drive up in the same expensive car every time you take her out on a date, she feel like you got money. If you take her back to your house and you just so happen to have a big house, it could be a fucking Airbnb. But if you take her back to the same big house, she's going to think you got money. She will commit to the ideology that you got money because she's looking for security, financial security. But when she decided to move in and come to find out you got a 2-bedroom apartment, not that big ass house you've been taking her to all this time, when she find out that you ride the bus, not riding around that rental car that you used to be riding around all the time, when she find out that you live from check to check, that's when she gets to see the real financial security and not commit to that. She gonna say you a fraud because you pretended like you had more money than what you really had. But she a fraud because she pretended like her hair was as long as fucking Pocahontas when it wasn't as long as a grain of rice. She was a fraud because she was pretending like her makeup is her actual skin complexion. This is what I'm trying to tell you, bro. So you're sitting over here telling me that we need to get a hobby because we're pointing out how things aren't going the way they're supposed to go for the women. Because if the men say, you know what, I'm gonna stop wasting my time trying to date and I'm gonna stack my cash, I can show you that inside of 5 years you could be a multimillionaire as long as you invest your money wisely. But I can't show you how getting into a relationship with a woman that is going to take the money and spend it instead of investing it, and that relationship turns into $1 million relationship. But she wants $1 million man. but she's not willing to invest in the $1 million man. So the unrealistic expectations are that you want the unachievable because you're not putting in the effort to achieve it, not because it's unachievable. So a man can find a woman and marry her. That doesn't make her a wife. It makes her a financial burden, a liability. It doesn't make her a wife. If she start helping, that's when she starts becoming a wife. She doesn't turn into a wife because you marry her. At the end of the day, it's not like a Pokemon. You can't hit her with a moonstone and she evolves into a Raichu and now she's a wife. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It's not like the androids where you can absorb the other androids and then become perfect cell and now you're a wife. It doesn't work that way. The fact is that the characteristics of being a perfect wife or being a good wife or a reasonable wife is characteristics that she's supposed to have as a woman on the first date as the girlfriend. And the dating phase, the only thing that you will be doing in the dating phase is fine-tuning her skill set to best suit your objectives and agendas so that you can be the most successful man that she needs in this same relationship. Carl said, hey guys, God bless you. Have a great night. I still think you should write a book. Peace out, bro. I am going to piece a book together one day. I give you my word. I was telling people a few years ago that I was going to write a book, but I was going to write a book about something different back then. So, but now I'm like, I should piece this together. I'm going to have to do a lot of editing and throw it out there. But yeah, I'll be taking this mentality and putting it down into some manuscripts so that people can pick that and then turn that manuscript into an audio file because people are lazy. We don't like to read these days. So instead of me throwing everybody a written book, give them an audio file, like $9.99, cheap. Everybody pick up a copy and put that up on Amazon. Drop shipping. I don't have to pay for the product. They can just download a copy. DJ says, why would you want children among the kind of people you keep describing? I don't want children amongst the kind of people I keep describing. I said that as a man, I would not want a woman to expect me to be accepted with a shit ton of children. I did not say that I wanted a bunch of children with the kind of woman that is not qualifiable to be a girlfriend, a wife, or a mother. I said that as a man, I don't think that it is rational for me to say, accept me as I am with 7, 10, 12 kids and try to have 2, 3, 5 more kids with her. I said that if I am going to be that guy, the kid that I'm going to have or the number of kids that I'm going to have is going to be selected by the kind of woman that I want to have those kids with. But I would not have children with a bunch of random women because I don't want to come with the baggage of having all of these financial burdens if they don't live with me, or having all of these actual burdens if they are living with me, because the kids are blessings, but the kids are actually a burden on the mother. And they are a burden on the father too, because your decision-making process has to have the kids come first. So you cannot start a strong relationship with somebody else without making sacrifices to your kid, unless your kid is old enough to go off and mind his own dang business while you're trying to live your life. Any man that's dating a woman with a kid that's under 14, who's not going off and spending time by his friend's house while she's out on a date, she has to neglect her child to some degree so that she can go out on a date. Now, I'm a man of uniformity, so I had switched the roles and said, okay, well, what about the man if he had a bunch of kids? And I'm still going to say that it's not acceptable, that he should not have a ton of kids outside of a committed situation with a female that he's expecting to dedicate his life to. Now, I'm not saying that, oh, you have to have the guarantee that she's going to spend the next 10, 20, 30 years with you. But you would expect that the type of relationship that y'all are in is going to be the type of relationship that's going to last till the child go to college before you start trying to have kids, trying to have children. This isn't the accidental pregnancies. This is the deliberate ones. When you ask for a kid, let's start working on making a baby together. That's what I was talking about. Joseph said, oh yeah, we already talked about that one. He said, are you speaking from experience? This is crazy. What part of it is crazy? What part of it is crazy? I don't understand that. And yes, Joseph. Yeah, hit on some anime. Yes, I hit on a lot of anime, bro. I hit on a lot of anime because, you know, a lot of times we gotta really think about it. I can hit on anime one more time. You know, Fairy Tale, right? The Fairy Clan. So your boy, I forgot his name, but him, the girl, and Happy, the little cat, with Gray, the dude who keeps snatching off his shirt. They're like a family together. They all met each other down the line, but they like a family together. They stick together. They stick together. They work for each other's successes. They have their ups and downs, but ain't nobody dropping out the clan talking about some, oh, I'm going to go join another clan. When a clan is successful, the clan is successful. When a clan is failing, the clan is failing, but they never give up on each other. That type of mentality, you can learn a lot from real anime. I ain't talking about the cartoons that pop out in America a lot of times. I talk about real anime. You can learn from that because they have morals and ethics embedded into the storyline. And if you watch, learn, and listen, by the time you finish understanding the concepts and the plot development, you're like, damn, you fucked around and learned some shit while you was having laughs. But the ability to stick together as a unified whole, that is one of the expectations that we forget about when we're trying to find a relationship and we're trying to find a partner. DJ says taking a girl to an Airbnb and a rental, pretending it's your stuff, is nuts, man. That's incredibly insecure. That's incredible insecurity. That's not insecurity. Truth be told, dude, that's what the wealthy men are capable of doing. You got dudes that'll rent something and never take it to his real house because he can afford to do that. You got some of these guys that's out there with those gold digger videos. They go to the dealership and they rent a car for the day. They park the car. They don't even go nowhere. They just pick it up, stop somewhere in the hood, and then they hover around that car until a hood rat pass by, and then they start trying to interact with that hood rat so that they can get 100,000 views. And they rent that car for anywhere between $100 to $300 for the day, sometimes $500 for the day, and they'll sit there all day waiting to catch a chick in a gold digger moment. She's only after him when she thinks that car belongs to him, but when she thinks that he's on foot like her, she ain't trying to entertain him. But notice that those guys that do those gold digger videos is using a different car. Same guy, different cars, because those are rentals. He don't own them cars. But if he hook up with one of those cars after the video, she's hooking up with him under the false ideology that he might have money because he can afford this car. But if he put all his money into this car, his ass is broke because this car is a $500,000 car, $250,000 car. He ain't got no fucking money. If he driving a Venom or a Lambo or a Porsche or some shit, the motherfucker's broke because all of his money, the car costs more than his damn house. Like big timers when they had all them damn luxury cars sitting in the playground of the projects on Section 8, talking about some, landlord gonna have to get the police to come throw me out kind of stuff. That I got money because I get paid and my bills don't. You still ain't got no damn money, bro. You're supposed to have enough money where your bills is paid and you got money left over. That's what we talk about on a weekly basis. Joseph said, I'm an anime fan. JK, Ninja Scroll, Dragon Ball, Hunter, but Dragon Ball, Chi-Chi. I can tell you straight up. Goku met Chi-Chi when he was a youngin'. They both had the same interests. They married or hooked up or whatever. Goku is a broke ass dude. He is the epitome of the Kid and Barbie model. And Goku has no job and no assets. He's a fighter. That's it. That's all he does is goes and fight. He don't take care of the kids or nothing. He go fight. Chi-Chi can live that lifestyle because Chi-Chi is the princess or queen of her kingdom. Her daddy cuts her a check. So she rich. Her daddy cuts her a check, pays for her standard of living. And because her husband can be a prize fighter, he just fights. That's all he does. He fights and trades. She supports his ability to get out there and fight. She is a former fighter. She trains the children. When the man died, she was fighting the kids. Goten and Gotenks, she was fighting the kids, training them the same way that that Goku was training Gohan. It's the same scenario where being supportive of your man's agenda. It's the same scenario. Now I understand that a lot of people are gonna take different aspects from the concepts, but when you start exactly, I was telling my homeboy Mr. Pibbs that Goku's a horrible dad, and he's like, no, he's always there with his son. No, from the time Gohan was born until the time Goku died, Goku would leave his kid with his mama. The boy would sneak out and chase his dad, get in trouble, get kidnapped, and then Goku would have to go and rescue him. So because Goku rescued Gohan, he was supposed to be a good dad. No, he wasn't a good dad. Clearly, the Saiyan race wasn't about paternal anything, but the fact is that he was a terrible dad. The only time that Vegeta was way more of a father than Goku, because like they would beat the only time that Gohan was able to bond with Goku was when Goku was beating on Gohan when they were in a hyperbolic time chamber until the beat on him until he became Super Saiyan 2. But when his dad died, Gohan stopped fighting. Gohan went and got himself an education. So Gohan was only being a fighter so that he could get praise and recognition and validation from his dad. He jumped into the fights so that he could be acknowledged from his dad. His mama wasn't sending him out there to fight. What was Chi-Chi saying? Don't let Gohan get in trouble. Don't bring Gohan to dangerous scenarios. And what was Goku saying? I didn't know he was there. When he hopped into the trunk of the car with Vegeta, and Goku and Vegeta went off over there by Broly's castle and got into that big old fight with Broly. Gohan is in trouble now because he snuck into the trunk, but proper parenting, they would have knew where the hell Gohan was. For fairness, he had to stay on point just in case the human race was in danger. I'm not gonna lie, he was one of the best superheroes in my time because he was more dedicated to putting himself on a line for the sake of like really big danger. And I know that we could point out other people like Superman and other stuff like that, Batman and other stuff like that. The type of crime that they can handle is the type of villainy that they fight. But I also look at like Goku was a target. Like the whole Dragon Ball saga from Dragon Ball Z going forward was people coming to Earth to fight the strongest person on the Earth. When Goku was no longer on the Earth, people stopped coming to Earth. So while, he had to keep his head on a swivel because while he stayed on Earth, he drew negative attention. A lot like if you were involved in a gang and gang wars start happening in your neighborhood, your house is going to get shot up because you're one of the gang members. If you stop doing that and move out of that area where don't nobody know that you're that kind of person, like I forgot the name of that anime that's on Netflix right now about the retired samurai. You know who I'm talking about, Joseph. And fact is that until they realized that he was a retired assassin, ain't nobody was coming after him. But once they realized he was a retired assassin, everybody's coming to his shop trying to take him out. His wife is like, you can't kill nobody. But they got the little toddler pushing a button on a register, dropping a cache of weapons onto the dude as he walks in because the assassin coming in trying to take out the father. It's crazy. They has to resurrect him just to help save the world. You're talking about against Majin Buu, right? Against Kid Buu. Because they resurrected him, but they resurrected him because they allowed stupid stuff to happen throughout the series instead of doing proactive intervention. Like, for example, Perfect Cell only existed because they allowed Dr. Gero to make the androids. His level of morals and ethics dictated that he couldn't go back into the past and eliminate Dr. Gero before Dr. Gero created the androids. As a result, he allowed the androids to exist so that the androids could cause chaos in one timeline where they would take a time machine back to his timeline and then destroy his timeline. And he had to sacrifice himself so that his son could take over the mantle as being the strongest person alive. The Majin series, Vegeta became Vegeta, never really a villain, just misunderstood because he wanted to be the most powerful person there. Vegeta joined Majin to get the Majin powers, not to be controlled. And Vegeta got stronger, but still wasn't stronger than Goku. Buu came out. They could have destroyed Buu, but they decided not to. Hercule became friends with Buu, and as long as Buu didn't get angry, everything was okay. If they would have done something with that boy, instead of allowing him to get pissed off in the city, I forgot what really triggered him. I think they killed the dog or something to that effect, and that's when Evil Buu came out. And then they had to go get Goku to come back and save the world. But they Future Trunks timeline is, but Future Trunks timeline had to have Future Trunks timeline happened because Goku died from a poison. So Goku couldn't stop the androids. Now, the new timeline, Goku is able to fight off that poison because they were able to figure out what caused the heart disease and whatever that killed him, right? Now, so they stopped Goku from dying, changed the future. Instead of them using that time machine to go back in the past and stop Dr. Gero from making the androids, they didn't necessarily have to kill him, but they could have done something different to keep the man from making the androids, where the androids would have never been an issue in the future. But because they didn't, they allowed the androids to exist, and then they allowed the androids to take out Dr. Gero, and then Dr. Gero became an android, and now you got all these androids destroying the city because they allowed it to happen. Cell piggybacked off of the time machine to the past. Cell is eating all of the androids, which is what makes him perfect. That's the reason why they had all those problems, because Goku did not want to fight somebody if they weren't at their peak. So he didn't even want to fight Cell until Cell was perfect Cell. So technically, if Goku would have beat Cell when Cell was imperfect, then he would not have had to sacrifice himself, which means that he could have been there to watch his son grow up, which is equivalent to a man deciding to do something stupid, involve himself in some type of gang violence, go to jail for it, and spend 10 years or 20 years in prison, and then come back when his child is an adult. Instead of getting out of the game and putting a stop to the situation and taking his family out of that type of environment and going to live the life with your kids, instead of watching or hearing about your kids grow up from a jail cell. There's some metaphoric stuff behind a lot of this stuff that people don't underliningly look at. But nowhere in the Dragon Ball saga were the women out there bouncing around from person to person. Bulma had Vegeta, that was it. Chi-Chi had Goku, that was it. Wasn't no affairs on there. What Chi-Chi wasn't cheating on Goku with Krillin. They ain't had that going on. Tien wasn't out there tapping Bulma. Master Roshi, dirtiest player in the game, fondling every female with every dirty magazine and every dirty video that he could get his hands on, ain't never went over there and accosted the wives of Goku or Vegeta. Morals and ethics still exist in the anime, but we don't have Yamcha. Yamcha ain't look, when Vegeta had a kid, Yamcha wasn't over there pushing up on that woman. Yamcha, what was the other guy? Because you're talking about. I'm trying to think about the other one. I can't remember the other one because there were like 2 or 3 humans: Piccolo, Goku, Vegeta, the pig, and then Mr. Popo. And Mr. Popo didn't come down and bless the Virgin Mary neither. I just want to point that out. So, all in all, throughout the whole thing, they had a long understanding that if 2 people hooked up, they were supposed to stay together. So Chi-Chi never divorced Goku, never broke up with Goku. Bulma never divorced Vegeta, never broke up with Vegeta. They ups and downs, good and bad. They rode the wave for the next 10 seasons. They're on episode like 800 now, still together. technically they've been together for 20 years. Once they picked a person, they stuck with it. And we can't figure that out in our daily lives. That's why we were talking about the marriage and the wives. Well, real quick, because DJ was sitting over here talking about it. We had some of the reasons why the women aren't really trying to get into it is because they have this sense of feeling confined or oppressed, because there's this term where they can feel like a set of rules and regulations that women are expected to adhere to limit their individuality and autonomy. So some women feel like wife material is a negative trait and it's meant to put them into a box as a puppet or a doormat, but that's not the case. Some women also feel like it's devaluing their achievements because it implies that a woman's worth is primarily based on her ability to fulfill domestic roles, diminishing her and all of her other achievements and qualities, which that's also not true. They also feel like it's outdated standards where the concepts can be tied to outdated standards of modesty and sexual behavior, where women are judged based on how long they wait to have sex. That's related to the body count, but that's not true. If you count GT, yeah, well, you would count because Bulma got with or Chi-Chi got with Vegeta in Z right after Dragon Ball. That's when, because he went from being a kid to being an adult between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Chi-Chi stayed with Goku through all the rest of the Dragon Ball sagas, and she basically had 2 kids with him that I can remember, because you had Gohan and Goten. Then you had Trunks, and I think Vegeta had a second kid. I don't remember what the second kid was though, because you had Future Trunks, Kid Trunks, and then I think that Bulma might have had another kid after that, but I didn't pay attention to the second kid. But they basically had like two or three kids each, and that was it. And they just said, and then the girl that became Gohan's wife, where he picked her, and they stayed together for the rest of eternity too, and they had kids. So nowhere in there is like jumping from person to person to person. They found that one person that they meshed with, and they stuck with it. They just stuck with it, and they just made it work. And whoever they picked was in line with their agenda. So the guys were fighters, and the girls that the guys got with backed up their fighting capabilities. They did not. Oh yeah, Bulla. Yeah, we didn't. The girls did not shame the men for fighting and always out there getting into fights and stuff like that. They were just like, the girls were fighters too. They meshed with one another. One of the other things that the women had was the unequal expectations, because women are often groomed from young ages, expecting to be wife materials by the men, but they're not groomed like that by the women. They're expected to be self-sufficient, while men don't face the same pressures to be husband material, because men are required to be financial providers, and that is all protectors and providers, and that's all a man is required to do to be considered a man. So they do not have this pressure to be something else to get married, because it's his responsibility to pay for the fucking marriage too. Oh, and if a woman wants to be married, she has to change from the behavior that she has when she's single to the type of behavior that she's going to have as a wife. But the expectations of a pure wife is going to require a woman to do less in order to qualify for a wife, and cooperate more. And women don't want to be restricted like that. They feel like they should be able to play the field like men do, and then get out there and try to settle down after they've had their fun and experience their traumas, which doesn't always work. Rejections of stereotypes come into play, where rejecting the term can be a way for women to assert their individuality and reject outdated stereotypes. But some are going to argue that the term can be redefined positively to mean a all-rounded or complete woman, encompassing qualities beyond just domestic skills or sexual capabilities. And ultimately, a woman embracing or rejecting the term wife material is a personal choice based on her values and beliefs. But for the men to have that value in a woman for wife material, that's going to mean a good home cooker. That's what they believe that the men are looking for. It's like the homemaker, the cooker, the caregiver. But it's going to mean more than that, because they believe that it's going to mean submissive and supportiveness, and always putting the needs of someone else before them. But the truth is that the independent and confident and strong-willed women are still able to be a partner, not just a caretaker, and have a voice that is heard and respected, not just submit to the man. And the fact is that the true men, and Joseph is a wife here, he can co-sign on this, is that what men are looking for in their relationships to really be considered wife material would be, we would describe someone who has the qualities of being a good wife is generally refers to a person that you would consider to marry, someone who you think is the type of partner that you would share your future with. And some of these qualities would be the compatibility, where sharing some of the same life goals together, same values, priorities, and there is some sexual compatibility with one another. The wife being supportive to the magnitude of her encouraging her partner to follow their dreams and supporting their ambitions, which means that if a man wants to do something or be something in his life, that the woman is going to encourage him to do that and support him and compliment him and praise him and help him with achieving that, because life beats you down. And sometimes you want to quit because you don't think you can. And a supportive wife will be a one that will remind you that, yes, you can, because you have been and you still can keep doing it. That's going to be a characteristic and a trait that a lot of women have forgotten about, because we got a lot of women these days that spend more time telling a man that he ain't shit, instead of telling a man that there is nothing you can't do if you get up off that damn couch and go get it done. Still, the capabilities to show him that, yes, you can do it if you apply yourself to it. The trustworthiness and loyalty that men are looking for, being honest, loyal, and committed to the relationship, not just the man, the relationship in and of itself, because the relationship is not just him, the relationship is her with him. That was another characteristic that women are forgetting about, and the nourishing behavior that has completely dissipated in Western culture in 2025, because providing care, support, and understanding to the man is something that men are looking for. And the communication that we have not seen in recent times, because men have to guess what a woman wants and what problems a woman has, instead of a woman communicating effectively and being willing to work through the challenges as a team, instead of shutting down. And then if the situation doesn't fix itself, she abandons ship. You can't tell me that you allow a bunch of holes to be put in the ship, and then now that the ship is sinking, instead of you helping me patch the ship, you're going to abandon ship to another ship that you're going to allow more holes to get into, and you expect to have stability on this ocean of life. It's impossible. It's impossible. There's a level of independence where having their own dreams and goals and life together is something that a man is expecting, because men are going to support a woman that does have some ambitions if you're getting a good man, but she's got to be able to do the same, reciprocating with supporting his ambitions. And the one biggest expectation that I believe that a lot of men have been pointing out over the past 2 years is adding value to the man's life, enhancing her partner's life rather than distracting him from his life and his life goals. Because a girl that you hang out with for fun is entertainment. It's distracting you from the stressors of life. It's distracting you from the hustles and bustles of life. But the problem is that you're not accomplishing anything while you're with her. You will be the same person in the same struggle when she leaves that you were when she showed up, if she is not making sure that she is aiding you in overcoming your obstacles and overcoming your strife. Now, granted, I understand that a lot of women don't want to get a man that's got a bunch of problems on his hands, but a lot of men who has a bunch of problems on his hands is not trying to get into the dating game. He's got a lot of his shit under control, and now he's looking to find a partner that can help him finish the race. He's not over here in bankruptcy, getting ready to sell off all of his estate and going out and trying to find a girlfriend. He's in a situation where he's got everything pretty much under control, and he thinks that he can add a significant someone to this fold. She just got to make sure that he can get over that hurdle of incorporating her standard of living into his overhead. And while we understand that there is an expectation for generosity with assertiveness, being generous but also standing up for yourself is a key quality and a key term that we do like, but we just don't like being in those relationships where we're being bullied by the girlfriend or oppressed and mistreated by the girlfriend. So, while it is okay for a woman to speak her mind and say what she likes and dislikes, the snatching men by the neck and poking them in the back of the head and devaluing them and degrading them and embarrassing them in public are certain things that you just don't need to do. And we typically understand that this is the type of behavior that we get from all races of women, and that this does happen across the world in some areas where this type of behavior is a thing. We have to tell the girlfriend that we're choosing from the gate that that's not going to fly, so that she understands that we're not going to be in a long-term relationship if you treat me like that. Because if we stand in our non-negotiable expectations for behavior, the way she's expecting to be treated like a queen and be pampered, we are expecting from the beginning of our relationship to be respected and appreciated and valued. And poking a man in the back of the head, devaluing him, talking down to him, degrading him in public, embarrassing him and humiliating him in public is not the way to value and appreciate and admire your man. So the term goes beyond just domestic abilities. And that's why we were doing today's show. It's going to encompass the overall capabilities and qualities that makes for a lasting, fulfilling partnership. Because some believe wife material means giving up on a lot of personal freedom, where going from being an individual to being a group, you will have to make some changes, but that does not mean that you have to abandon your entire individual lifestyle. You just have to incorporate the appropriate portions of your lifestyle into your relationship, and the single lifestyle that you once lived has to dissipate because you are no longer single. While others think that someone who has everything together is always a good thing, we have to recognize that if we spend more time in the first 5, 10, 20 dates figuring out the mentality of the other person and the characteristics of the other person, instead of the men picking dates that entertain the woman, it's a bad choice because you're not getting to know her. You're just making sure that she's having fun. Ladies, instead of expecting a man to spend a bunch of money on you to impress you, you need to figure out what kind of man he is. If you guys know each other at the beginning of your relationship and truly know each other, you can know that if you commit to this person, that this person will be the last person that you have to commit to for the rest of your life. But if you find red flags, don't ignore them. You address them. Because a red flag doesn't mean that you got to walk away from it. A red flag needs to be addressed so that you can determine if your partner is willing to improve this characteristic or not. If they're not willing to improve this characteristic, you're not going to force them to, but you're not going to stay. But if they recognize that this is a character flaw that they need to improve on, and they're willing to improve on that, if you value that person, you're going to stick with them as they work on it, no matter how much they fail at it. Alcoholics might want to quit drinking alcohol, but still get them a drink every now and again. Smokers might quit smoking, but still get a smoke every now and again. Gamblers might need to go to a meeting a couple times a week to stop gambling, but they want to stop. You're supposed to support them even when they don't. So ultimately, it describes someone who is at your level in their own ways and capable of being compatible with you. That would be the ideology of our expectations of a good wife. So what's the takeaway from all of the stuff we talked about over the past few hours? Is that women don't want to be wife material in the sense that they are suppressed by stereotypical roles. They don't want to be in a position where they're not seen or in a holistic, complex situation where their multifaceted individuality is suppressed. They want to be valued for their strengths and weaknesses, even though they're not working on those strengths and weaknesses in some situations. And their passions and interests are supposed to be emphasized and projected through the man's efforts. Their unique perspectives are supposed to be understood. We're still trying to get women to understand that you have to have that same expectation for men. Now, they want to be treated as equals, not just as potential partners or caregivers. And in order for women to be treated as equals, they believe that they have to behave equally to men, and that's not really the case, because your ability to receive from me is not going to be what I'm receiving from you. So since we're not weighted on the same scale, we cannot be equal to one another. Not saying that a woman is less than a man or that a man is less than a woman. It's saying that we have to be reasonable with one another. Because when you're trying to get equality, where I'm physically capable of doing things that you're not physically capable of, you're physically capable of doing things that I am not physically capable of, you can't say that I'm stronger than you, and I can't say that you're stronger than me. Because let's be honest, guys, I might be able to pick up a car so that I can get you from up under it, but you can give birth. I can't deal with that kind of pain, but you can't lift that car. There are things that I can do that you can't do, and there's things that you can do that I can't do, and you are supposed to do for me what I can't do, and I'm supposed to do for you what you can't do, but we're supposed to be doing for each other reasonably what we can accomplish for ourselves when we start trying to find somebody that's on our level. So in conclusion, the notion of wife material is nothing more than a sociological construct designed to in the minds of some women to keep them in a box, but it has moved forward as we have evolved and grown, and it's time to rethink what it means by wife material. It is time to recognize that women are so much more than just their relationship status. They are supposed to be partners and supportive in the relationship, and the value of a woman needs to be seen from the first date. So the responsibility now lies on the ladies. In order for you to show your value, I've set the par for you. We're taking out the expectation for sex, taking out the expectation for your career choice, and taking out the expectation for your education. Think about this, ask yourself, and if you can figure this out, put it into the comment section. What, as a woman, do you bring to the table for a man that will be valuable for a man? We understand the traditional cooking, cleaning, and maintaining responsibilities around the house is always the go-to for everybody, male and female. But really, beyond those things, what else do you do? We had one woman come up onto the show and talk about her ability to support her man, and she provided a valuable characteristic. But for the rest of you ladies, what are you bringing to the table that is going to be valuable to a man? That because your value of a man is his ability to protect and provide. So you set the par for a man. Now, as a woman, how do you match up for a man? What do men need from a woman beyond sex? If you don't know, then you also have to accept and understand that you have been headed down the wrong path in life when you're chasing your career to be the best you that you can be, to be single, and then never paying attention to what the other person needs in order for you to become a partner at some point. You can be financially successful throughout your life and chase every goal that you want to be financially successful. Aim to be the first female president for all I care. Fact is, in your mind, when you think about what it takes to be the girlfriend of the man that qualifies for you, you have to ask yourself, what does a man that meets your expectations expect from his woman? And then you have to be able to decide, am I willing to do that? And if you're not willing to do that, then you're going to have to find a lower value man that doesn't have those expectations. The same way, if we go to a dealership and we can't afford that expensive car, we don't want to pay for those car notes, or the repairs for that car is just too much. Instead of us getting that car, we're going to get a cheaper car. We're going to get something a little bit more affordable, something a little bit more manageable, something that I can handle. That same mentality is in relationships. If business deals is the same way. When you're an employer, you're not going to pay somebody more money than what you can afford for a salary so that they can do the work, because if they take up all the profits, you're not making money. Likewise, as a worker, you're not going to take a job that is not going to pay for your standard of living, where you now have to get a third job to cover your standard of living. If you're trying to get a job where you work for one job reasonably 40 to 50 hours a week, 55 hours a week, and then you can come home and live a balanced work-life balance. So you're not looking for an underpaid job where you're getting less than what you're valued, or you're getting less than what you financially need for the quantity of time you're given to the job. And an employer is not going to overpay an employee where they're not making enough profits to cover the overhead. Likewise, in a relationship, as a woman, your expectations of a man is met by the man in order for you to accept him when he propositions himself for you. But as a woman, your mentality is to find what men expect from what they believe is a quality woman. And if you are able to list what a man expects from a quality woman that you actually bring to the table, now you're able to identify yourself as valuable. You're also able to gauge yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 of value to a man if you are able to determine that you meet all of the expectations of a man. Most men, just like Josh was saying, that he's like a 4.5. He knows that compared to what women look for in a man, that he's probably got almost half of it right. I can agree with him. I'm probably somewhat on par because I'm definitely not 6'5". So there's 2 strikes right there. And we just understand that things are only going to roll out the way they're supposed to roll out if we recognize where we really stand in our society, and then also recognize how we're going to treat people and how we expect people to treat us in our society based on our understandings. So I want to thank you guys for watching. And if you have any thoughts on this topic, please make sure that you guys like, subscribe, share, and comment in the comments down below. Make sure that you share it to some people that you know that'll like this. Make sure that you share it with people that you know that got something to say about it, like DJ1, who's always got something interesting to say on the show. And if you want to explore more insights on relationships and dating, be sure to check out some of the videos that we've got coming up for the rest of the week. As you can see that I'm starting to throw more stuff down for next week because I'm picking up topics along the way. I appreciate you hanging out there with me for the long haul, Joseph. I did tell you that I got something happening at 1 and I got like 10 minutes to get that going. So I did have to wrap it up. And I know that I got a 4-minute outro song. So I wanted to make sure that I wrapped it up with enough time. So I appreciate you guys coming to this and that. What I tell you ladies on a regular basis on my way out is, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So please, ladies, make it make sense. And fellas, you guys are awesome. I really appreciate your insights. Some of the wisest men that I've got on a podcast outside of myself. We share a lot of different insights, and we touch on a lot of different topics. So tomorrow's topic is going to be slightly different. I got to gather that along. Actually, I think I already got it up there, but I'm going to make sure that we've got different topics every day of the week. I'm definitely going to see you guys tomorrow night. So thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm going to see you tomorrow night, Joseph. Thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I will be here a little after 10. I think I'm starting to queue them up where they're actually timed on YouTube to tell you 10:30, because by 10:30 I'll be on Central Standard Time. And that would be like 4 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. Green Minutes time, 4 a.m. Universal Standard Time. So if you're not in America, it's like 4 a.m. If you are in America, it's like 10:30 p.m. But I'm going to see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.